All right, today we're tackling something huge, something that's a must-have if you're working in a regulated industry. We're talking about building a truly unbreakable audit trail for your testing. Let's dive right in.
So let's kick things off with a little thought experiment. Imagine you're working in, say, MedTech or finance. Super high stakes stuff, right? Now, what if every single test you run wasn't just about squashing bugs? What if it was actually a piece of evidence, something you'd present in an audit to prove you did your job? And that right there, that shift in thinking, is what this is all about. This is the definition that changes the whole game. When you start treating a test like it's an official piece of evidence, you've moved from regular software development into the world of compliance. The stakes are just, well, they're way higher, and your paperwork has to be bulletproof.
Okay, so the big question is, how do you actually build this trail of evidence? How do you make something that an auditor can't poke holes in? Well, it all boils down to one core concept, creating what we're going to call an unbreakable chain of traceability.
Now, listen up, because this is probably the most important rule of all. Every single test has to be explicitly linked to a requirement. If it's not, from an auditor's point of view, that test might as well not exist. It's that direct link that's the absolute foundation for everything we're building here.
So what does that look like in practice? It means creating a test isn't just a quick note anymore. It's a formal process. You've got to have a really descriptive title, a step-by-step procedure that anyone could pick up and follow, an initial status, and of course, there's that all-important link back to the requirement. Every part of this is designed to be crystal clear, and frankly, defensible if you're ever questioned. Just look at the difference here. It's night and day, right? Login, lock test. I mean, what does that even mean? It's so vague. But look at the audit-ready version. It's not just a title, it's practically a mini spec in itself. An auditor could read that and know exactly what was being tested. There's zero room for misunderstanding. And you know, what's really cool is that this system isn't super rigid. It's not like one test equals one requirement, period. You can have one big, beefy test that actually verifies a few different requirements, or on the flip side, you might have one really important requirement that needs a bunch of different tests to prove it's met. The most important part is that it's always the test that points to the requirement it's verifying. That keeps the chain of evidence super clean. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Building this chain link by link sounds like a ton of work. And you're right, it can be. So let's talk about how we can speed things up with a little help from AI, but, and this is key, without ever giving up human control. And I really want to stress this. We're not just handing the keys over to an AI. This is a partnership, a human-in-the-loop workflow. The AI does the grunt work. You know, it reads the requirement, it comes up with a bunch of solid test ideas. But the engineer, they're the boss. They review, they tweak, they approve, they have the final say. That's how you get both speed and accountability. And this right here is the golden rule of using AI for, well, for anything really. If you give it a vague, mushy requirement, you're going to get vague, mushy tests back. It's the classic garbage in, garbage out. But if you feed it a crystal clear, specific requirement, oh, then it can work wonders and give you some seriously valuable test cases to start with. Sooner or later, an auditor is going to point to a test and ask, so, where did this come from? And you need a good answer. That's where provenance comes in. You need to be able to show the test's entire life story, which AI model suggested it, the exact timestamp, and most importantly, which human engineer signed off on it. That full history is what makes the whole thing defensible. All right, so we've got our tests all set up and linked. Everything's looking good. But what happens when a test fails? This, my friends, is where things get really, really serious. The life cycle of a test is actually pretty straightforward. It starts as not run, obviously. If it passes, great. That's you officially saying a requirement has been met. But if it fails, a failed status is not just another bug to fix. It's what's called a quality event, and it sets off a whole formal investigation process. And that distinction is so important. In a regulated world, a failed test isn't just an oopsie. It means a requirement, something you promised to deliver, wasn't met. That could have major consequences. So a failure has to be formally investigated, documented, and resolved. No exceptions. And guess what? AI can help here too. Again, it's assisting, not taking over. When a test fails, the AI can look at everything and suggest, hey, maybe this is the root cause.
It can even propose what are called CAPAs. That's corrective actions to fix the problem now and preventive actions to make sure it never happens again. It's like giving your quality team a huge head start. Okay, so we've got our chain and we know what to do when a link breaks. Now let's pull back. Let's zoom out and take a look at the big picture. How do you monitor the health of this whole system from a 30,000-foot view? From up high, you're basically looking for two kinds of problems: gaps and waste. An orphaned requirement is a huge gap. It's a requirement that has 0 tests linked to it. That's a red flag for an auditor. And an orphan test? That's just waste. It's a test that isn't linked to any requirement, so it's not proving anything that matters for compliance. You gotta fix both. And all of this data, it all rolls up into something you can actually track. Your coverage percentage, which is just the number of requirements that have at least one test, becomes a vital sign for your project. As you can see here, it's actually one of the key metrics that feeds into your overall compliance readiness score. It's a number you can watch and improve. So let's just do a quick recap of the whole workflow. It's a cycle. You set things up, maybe with some templates. You review and add more tests using AI or doing it manually. You run them, you investigate the failures and create those CAPAs. You're always monitoring your coverage. And finally, you hit print, or the digital equivalent, and generate those beautiful traceability reports that make auditors happy. So I want to leave you with this one last thought. It's a question for you to take back to your own team. Is your testing process just about finding bugs? Or is it about building your compliance fortress? Because when you make that mental shift from just bug hunting to evidence building, everything changes. Your testing process stops being a chore and becomes the very thing that protects your product, your company, and most importantly, the people who use it.